Every year, every fan going into the season is going to try to justify why their team may win the division. And although it's almost always in their head, you never know, maybe your team will be crowned division winner, no matter how bad they are. Like the Heineke Commanders a couple years back, which actually I think that was the year when they were the football team. Anyways, let's jump into the predictions. Starting with the AFC North, I'd write off the Steelers and Browns. I feel like the Steelers have a higher floor, but once again are rolling into the season with a pretty low ceiling, while the Browns may just be bad. The Bengals will be a very interesting team to watch. Of course, they had one of the best offenses and the best quarterback from last season, but had one of the most poor defenses of all time. The offense still looks good this year, and the defense probably improved a little bit over the offseason. But I say probably because, of course, Trey Hendrickson's contract negotiations are looking rough, and Shamar Stewart is yet to be signed to his rookie deal. I think the Ravens are still my favorite to finish first in the division. They're running back a very similar offense who was great last season, and they added both Chidobe Awuzie and Jair Alexander to the secondary. Of course, there's a lot of injury concerns with Jair, but if he can give 75% of his best, he'll still play a key role in an already good secondary. Awuzie, of course, will be decent depth, and on top of that, they added Malachi Starks in the first round, as well as Mike Green in the second, who many people thought could be a first-rounder at edge. They had a good defense last season, and they may have made it even more dominant than they were last year. And of course, the first half of last season, this Ravens defense wasn't really the best, but as the year went on, they made a lot of adjustments to become one of the best in the league. I think this year they could end up being a top 3 unit throughout the entire season. Once again, looking at repeat champs in the Bills, I think the Patriots will be a very interesting watch along with the Jets and new quarterback Justin Fields. Of course, both those teams will be coming into the season with new coaches as well, as the Patriots landed the top free agent coach in Mike Vrabel. I just don't think as a roster they are ready to make that jump yet. With the Jets, they landed Aaron Glenn, who is a great defensive coordinator for the Lions, and was actually a good corner when he played for the Jets in the NFL. They will be running out Justin Fields as a starter and a fine defense. Of course, the O-line has some question marks, and the receiver room outside of Garrett Wilson is pretty mediocre and shaky. The defense was actually fairly dominant last year, though, and Glenn may be able to take them to becoming one of the top units in the league. When it comes to the Dolphins, it feels like every major person's job is on the line. The quarterback, head coach, and GM. We'll have to see how they play under pressure, but I don't think they're coming for the division title. The Bills will take the cake in a weaker division, having a top 5 quarterback in the NFL, a receiver room that may be able to develop even more, and a pretty solid defense. The AFC South as a whole should be fun to watch. The Titans are running into the season with the first overall pick of Cam Ward. The Jags have a new head coach who could unlock Trevor Lawrence's full potential, and the Texans are in the 3rd year of the Stroud era and have some healthy bodies coming back. And I mean, the Colts, they're an NFL team that plays in the AFC South. There's not really a whole lot to say about them, but it will be interesting to see if Anthony Richardson has a make or break year. But the two teams in my mind it comes down to are the Jaguars and Texans. The Titans in my eyes are a bit of a wild card, and I'm not expecting a 1-year turnaround from Cam Ward. And the Colts have too big of a quarterback controversy for me to see them as division champs. The Texans will be running it back with 2023 second overall pick CJ Stroud, who has brought them to the playoffs his first 2 years and won a game in both seasons. Yes, he struggled some last year, but he had a harder schedule than his rookie year, and there were a lot of injuries across that offense, along with one of the bottom offensive line units in the league. The Texans did decide to move on at OC as well, so we'll have to see if he can help Stroud and fix the O-line, because it wasn't fixed that well through roster moves. I mean, they did sign Cam Robinson and Laken Tomlinson, but they're a fairly average O-line overall. And we'll just see. They're definitely players that can get the job done, but they are not elite at their jobs. At receiver, they lost Diggs, but he was injured most last season as well. They did bring in Nick Chubb, who should be a decent complementary back to Joe Mixon. When it comes to the Jags offense, they did add Liam Cohen at head coach, who I think will be a very interesting head coach. He did help Will Levis become a top drafted quarterback, or at least top 40, and helped Baker Mayfield have his best season of his career. I think he's kind of a hit or miss coach hire, but he could bring an energy that the Jags need right now. I also think he can help Trevor Lawrence have one of his best seasons. The Jags have one of last year's best rookie receivers in Brian Thomas Jr., and have Travis Hunter, who will be an interesting watch as he tries to play both sides. Their tight end core isn't anything special, but like the Texans, they have a two-headed running game. There have been heavy rumors that one of Travis Etienne or Tank Bigsby are traded, but we'll have to wait and see. I do believe the Texans will have a better offense and also have 13 winnable games on their schedule, and I don't necessarily think they'll win 13, but I think that is their ceiling. With the Jags, I think they have 11 winnable games, and once again, I'm not sure they'll win 11, but I do believe that's their ceiling as well. When it comes to these teams' defenses, I think Houston also is the better defense. They finished way above the Jags in points against and yards against last season. I don't think the Jaguars made any significant moves to improve the defense all that much. I think the Texans will once again win the division. The final division of this video will have 3 teams competing for the top spot. Of course, the Raiders aren't one of those, but I think they can still have a kind of solid year. I feel like this may be a year when we see the Chargers finally take a step forward after a good year instead of crumbling and not being able to follow up. The Broncos also have a bit to build off of, and I believe they can compete for it. The Chiefs, of course, are coming off the failed three-peat in a 15-2 year with the division title once again last season. And they don't have a lot of space to go up other than winning the Super Bowl this year. With Mahomes on the roster, the goal will always be to compete. They've had a pretty alright offseason, not getting significantly worse. The Broncos definitely had one of the best offseasons in the league, adding to their strong defense with Talanoa Hufanga, Jahdae Barron, and Dre Greenlaw. They also finally found a tight end in which they haven't had in years. The Chargers also had a solid offseason, but I don't think they'll win the division. I think the Broncos will actually end up winning the AFC West. Bo Nix is going to grow even better after an already great rookie season. The defense is going to go from the best to even better. Last season they did beat up on weaker teams, but this season I think they've put together a roster that should help them hang on with the better teams in the league, especially Sean Payton at head coach and Vance Joseph as their defensive coordinator. I think this team is going to be very good this season.